One last, absolutely not doing another mock draft here on PatsCast. Welcome to PatsCast. I'm Brad Whitaker. Good to be with you. This is the last one, I promise, the last mock draft here at PatsCast. Just a couple of days away from the 2025 NFL Draft, and I'm going back on my word a little bit. Originally, don't love doing mock drafts that go beyond the 4th or 5th round because it's basically a crapshoot after that. But I think I have a pretty good gauge on the types of players that the Patriots will be interested in, particularly after their selections in the first 2 or 3 rounds. This gets a little fascinating here. So without further ado, let's get to the last mock draft of 2025, starting with the first round in the 4th overall pick. Anticipating chalk here, right? Cam Ward, 1st overall, going to the Tennessee Titans. A lot of rumors about Travis Hunter and the Browns or the Giants. They might trade back. Maybe the Patriots will trade up to 2nd overall. That was resurfaced today, so they can draft Travis Hunter. No, I see the Browns sticking and picking, taking Hunter 2nd overall. And then we know the Giants have a decision to make between Abdul Carter, the blue chip pass rusher, the 2nd or 1st player in this draft, or you take the reach at quarterback and go with Shedeur Sanders. From everything I've heard, sounds like the front office does like Shedeur Sanders, but the coaching staff, Brian Daboll and company, who's trying to save their jobs, by the way, they are not as interested in Shedeur Sanders. Think they're probably going to go for the blue chip guy and then maybe trade back into the late 1st round if Sanders slips, or take a guy like Jackson Dart with the same method there. So off the board, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, no blue chip players available for the Patriots at 4th overall. And they're going to take the player that I think is going to be the biggest difference maker in Foxborough for years to come. At 4th overall, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, the tackle out of LSU. Don't love it. Again, I would prefer for the Patriots to trade back to, 6th or 7th or 8th and still be able to take Will Campbell or Armin Membu, the best tackle available, and start him on the left side. But, as I said, there are a lot of rumors going around about trades happening in the top 10. I just don't see, with Abdul Carter off the board, maybe someone wants to move up for a guy like Ashton Jeanty, who probably is the best player available, but he is a running back, very dependent position, the most dependent position in the NFL. I don't think the Patriots, with their offensive line woes, are going to take a running back and then try to fit someone in the 2nd round at left tackle or do something like that. I think they're going to take Will Campbell and just say, look, we know the limitations with his arm length. We know he is not a prototype, top 10, top 5 left tackle, but the film is clean, probably the cleanest film in the class, although I guess Greg Bedard says Josh Simmons' film is cleaner, but he has character concerns. He's coming off of an injury. Will Campbell, for all practical purposes, is the best left tackle available in the draft, and the Patriots will lock him up and have their tackle, in my opinion, for years to come. I think there's about an 80% chance it works out with Will Campbell long-term at left tackle, and the worst-case scenario is he's a serviceable left tackle that you kick over to left guard, and then you address the left tackle position again a year or 2 down the road. Now, had a YouTube comment on one of my previous mock drafts or one of my previous podcasts that says, serviceable left tackle. I don't want to hear that at 4th overall. And I hear you. This is a guy who probably would go like 20th in last year's draft, right? And he's going to go 4th overall in this year's draft. And that's because when you get past Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, and not factoring Ashton Jeanty in here, between picks 4 and 15, those players are all kind of the same caliber, kind of the same risk. So, taking Tet McMillan or taking Armin Membu is about the same risk as it is with Will Campbell. Maybe they could take Tyler Warren, who would be a great pass catcher and give them a good young tight end player for years to come. But that's not really a position of need at this time, at least as urgently. I think they should address tight end eventually, but not as urgently as the left tackle position. So they're going to take Will Campbell, started every game each of the last 3 seasons at LSU against SEC competition. We know doesn't have a great wingspan, barely cracks 33-inch arms, and that's on a good day, but going to give Drake Maye a huge upgrade at left tackle compared to last season. And again, I think it is a highly likely probability that it works out long-term for Will Campbell. He's signing a second contract with the Patriots after year 5 and is your left tackle for years to come. And worst case scenario, he's not going to be a bust in that he's not going to play. He's going to be a bust in that he's ultimately going to be a left guard, or maybe you play him at right tackle down the road if he's a better fit there. But you're still taking, in my opinion, the best left tackle in the draft, a guy who has quick feet, precise hand placement, strong anchor against power rushers, high football IQ, a real leader, really fits the Mike Vrabel mold, and I think this is ultimately going to be the right choice, assuming Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are not available at 4th overall. So, now we head on to the next pick, and there's a lot of smoke around, will the Patriots trade back into the first round? You know, they have 2 third-round picks and an early second-round pick. Will they package some of that and get somewhere into the 20s and take, let's say, the best receiver available? We know that's a position of need. Well, I don't think the Patriots are going to be as aggressive at wide receiver this draft as most of us think. I really don't see them drafting more than 1 wide receiver because they have an insanely crowded receiving room with Stephon Diggs. They added Mac Hollins, who I think is going to be a really strong contributor, although I said that about KJ Osborne last year, but I think Mac Hollins is the right fit. Demario Douglas. Kayshon Boutte is still there. Rumor is he might be on the trade block. You're still trying to develop Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, not to mention Kendrick Bourne is still on the roster. So a lot of those are average, below average players, but still, it's a crowded room, and I don't think the Patriots are going to be as aggressive at receiver. So I think the Patriots are going to stick and pick at 38th overall with their second pick, and they're not going to take a receiver. The 38th overall selection in the 2025 NFL Draft, I have the New England Patriots selecting Donovan Jackson, tackle/guard, out of the Ohio State University. Jackson is 6'4", 310 pounds, so a little shorter than say, Will Campbell, but has the size. Been healthy pretty much his entire career. He did miss 2 games with a minor injury in 2024, but pretty much healthy his entire career at Ohio State. And we talked about Josh Simmons earlier. He is the prototype left tackle in this draft, but character concerns, injury concerns, that's why the Patriots selecting Will Campbell at 4th overall. Well, Josh Simmons, he has injury concerns because he went down at the end of the season at Ohio State, and Donovan Jackson, their starting left guard, had to be pushed over to the left tackle position. And he did a great job there. He did an excellent job, so much that Ohio State, who, you know, their head coach was on the chopping block at the end of the season, they rallied with Donovan Jackson at left tackle and made it through the college football playoff and won the national championship. This is a good player, versatile, was a left guard, but now he's adapted to being a strong left tackle, so much that a lot of NFL teams aren't just chalking him up as a guard. Some might consider playing him at the tackle spot. Powerful run blocker, excels in gap and power schemes, quick off the snap, strong hands and pass protection, and of course, he's a good leader and helped guide Ohio State to a national title in 2024. Donovan Jackson builds a fortress for Drake Maye after the Will Campbell selection, and there you go. You have your starting offensive line of the future. Will Campbell at left tackle, Donovan Jackson at left guard, can play left tackle. Maybe you develop him and he can become your right tackle of the future, but in year 1, you start him at left guard. Then you just have a massive competition with Garrett Bradbury, Cole Strange and company for center. Mike Onwenu back at right guard, doesn't have to worry about right tackle. He's going to have a fire under his ass because Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel are there. And Onwenu, last time he was a full-time guard, played pretty damn well. And then Morgan Moses, of course, is a bridge at right tackle for probably at least a couple of seasons, but more than competent at that position. And Drake Maye is going to see a huge improvement with his protection. The running backs are going to see a huge improvement with their run blocking with this selection of Donovan Jackson. As time goes on, I'm becoming more and more of a fan of the Patriots taking 2 offensive linemen with their first 2 picks in this draft, and that's exactly what I have them doing here with Will Campbell and Donovan Jackson. And who knows how it plays out? It's possible. Donovan Jackson has 33.5-inch arms. He might be a better fit at left tackle than Will Campbell. So if we end up in this scenario where your 4th overall pick ends up playing left guard and your 38th overall pick ends up playing left tackle, well, Patriots are going to complain that Patriots fans are going to complain that Will Campbell is a bust and this and that. But who cares? That's how it shook out, and you still have 2 very solid starting offensive linemen for years to come. So really like this idea of Donovan Jackson going 38th overall. His draft projection, is, from what I've read, is somewhere in the middle to late 2nd round. But if last year is any indicator, these top-tier teams that are drafting at the end of the 1st round, they're going to make a run at all the tackle spots, all the offensive linemen, and there aren't going to be a lot of players left. But the Patriots will have already taken care of left tackle, drafting Will Campbell at 4th overall. And then Donovan Jackson, maybe they're reaching a little at 38th for a guy that is chalked up by most teams as a guard, but could potentially play left tackle. Might be a little bit of a reach, but I don't think there's going to be as many offensive linemen available early in the 2nd round, because that's what happened last year. So I think the Patriots are going to learn their lessons from last year. Tired of hearing about the left tackle position. Been hearing about it ever since they drafted Isaiah Wynn. Get it taken care of with Will Campbell, Donovan Jackson. Whoever is the worst player, kick him over to left guard and call it a day. I think that's the way to do it. Build a fortress for Drake Maye, and then you can figure out the weapons and all that other stuff later. So, Patriots taking 2 offensive linemen, Will Campbell, Donovan Jackson, 1st and 2nd round. And now we move on into the 3rd round. Remember, the Patriots had the 69th pick, their 3rd round pick, and the 77th overall pick, which they received from the Atlanta Falcons with the trade of Matthew Judon. I have the Patriots making a trade here. Trade alert, the Patriots will package the 69th overall pick and the 106th overall pick, so their 4th round pick, to move up 12 spots and trading with, who do I have them trading with? My apologies. I did this all in Pro Football Focus, so let me just pull it up real quick. But yes, they would be trading number 69 and number 107th overall for the 57th overall pick. And that all lines up with the points, basically even, 313 points the Patriots would be giving up and receiving 310 points back, moving up 12 spots. So I think that might be Carolina, but regardless, they're trading up and going back into the 2nd round. So a lot of talk, will the Patriots trade back into the late 1st round, take a receiver there? Instead, I have them packaging those picks, 69th overall, their early 3rd rounder, 106 overall, their early 4th rounder, and trading back into the late 2nd round and selecting wide receiver Jack Besh out of TCU. Jack Besh, really interesting story. Kind of a sad, tragic story, to be honest, but really an impressive player, and I think he is the missing piece on offense for the Patriots. And I'll say it right now, this is the only wide receiver, or tight end, frankly, that I have the Patriots selecting in the 2025 NFL Draft. So, Jack Besh, 6'2", 215 pounds, so has a lot of size for a wide receiver. Basically was a hybrid receiver tight end at LSU for a couple of seasons before he transferred to TCU and got a lot more reps and receptions and yardage. And he really just went off his senior year. 62 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns in 12 games, reliable hands, excellent at contested catches, versatile, played in the slot a lot, but can play on the outside. I think with the Patriots, with pretty much nothing but slot receivers on the roster, they're going to use a guy like Jack Besh and maybe Mac Hollins quite a bit on the outside because of their size, kind of as a substitute for that boundary X wide receiver, even if they're not the exact prototype. He's also a good blocker, too. Tough perimeter blocker, can aid in the run game, the type of guy that Mike Vrabel would really like. Now, everything I've said, it's like, why isn't he a first-round wide receiver? Well, he's got a lot of size to him, was originally like a hybrid tight end, so he lacks elite speed, kind of a 4.55, 4.6 40 guy. Has an injury history, his hamstring raises durability concerns, and like I said, he had to transfer because he was living in a crowded receiving room at LSU, so his production was fairly inconsistent, at least until he got to his senior year and went off. But again, big-bodied, contested catch guy, hard worker, real leader, willing to block, willing to go the extra inch. He's a really good player, and like I said, a bit of a tragic story. His older brother, Martin Besh, was actually killed in the terrorist attack on Bourbon Street in New Orleans a few days before the Super Bowl. And Jack Besh during this time was preparing to participate in the Senior Bowl, and there was talk about like whether or not he would do it, because that was only, a few days or weeks after the Super Bowl. A lot of emotional weight. Jack Besh decided he would play, he would participate in the Senior Bowl practices and in the final game. What ended up happening, he scored the game-winning touchdown and won Senior Bowl MVP. So, resilient player, great but tragic story. Long-term projection, I think he's a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. Cole Beasley, Hunter Renfrow type player, maybe a little bit more size than those two guys. But ultimately, he's the type of wide receiver that I think the Patriots are sorely missing beyond the addition of Mac Hollins. And, I don't think there's developmental concerns there because, I think there were some character concerns in hindsight with Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, although Jalen Polk was squeaky clean, apparently, coming out of college, and he was everything but that in New England as a rookie. So Jack Besh is not that guy. I think he could develop into a good long-term receiver and pair him with some of the other players on the roster, but would really love to see the Patriots grab Besh. Originally, I was hoping he would be available doing the PFF mock draft in the 3rd round, but it seems like his draft stock is boosting, so that's why I had to make the trade late into the 2nd round. Probably going to end up being a 2nd round wide receiver. So the Patriots want him, and they don't want to take him with their early 2nd round pick. They may have to do what I just did here, package some picks and move up back into the 2nd round and take the best wide receiver available. So the Patriots lose their 69th overall pick in that trade for Jack Besh. They also got rid of their early 4th round pick, but they still have the 77th overall pick, the mid-3rd rounder that they got from the Falcons in the Matthew Judon trade. So at 77th overall, the New England Patriots will select Andrew Makuba, free safety, University of Texas. Absolutely love this guy. And we know the Patriots address defense very aggressively during free agency, did a tremendous job there, do not have a ton of holes on the defensive side of the football, but the one glaring hole at this point is free safety. And look, they got some depth at corner, at the safety spots. Like, they can make it work with the roster that they have, so this isn't a must, but you need that leader, that Devin McCourty type player playing center field. Andrew Makuba can be that guy for years to come. In fact, I think Andrew Makuba is a week 1 starter right away, which is pretty good for a player that you're probably going to get in the mid to late 3rd round or somewhere in the 4th round. I have the Patriots selecting him in the mid-3rd round because I think he's just that good of a player. Rangy with closing speed, covers deep thirds very well, instinctive in zone coverage, is able to read the quarterback's eyes, reliable open field tackler, limits the yards after the catch, versatile, he can be a slot corner, big nickel. His weaknesses, he's been over-aggressive at times, biting on play action. Only had 2 interceptions in college, so limited ball production there. But the biggest weakness and the reason why he is not a first-round talent and is probably a 3rd or 4th-round talent is he's a little undersized. He's 6 foot, 185 pounds. There's tape of him struggling against bigger tight ends. But Patriots aren't drafting a strong safety here. They're drafting a free safety, and he's still 6 foot. Like, he's not that short for a free safety. Like, I think that's totally fine. I hope he's available at 77th overall. Was kind of shocked, but I've heard lots of, Patriots beat writers talk about this. Andrew Barth was talking about this on 98.5 the other day, that Andrew Mukuba is the guy to replace Devin McCourty, and a guy that can start week 1 right away. And he projects as a 8 to 10 year free safety with Pro Bowl potential. And I think he's slipping because he's undersized, but I don't think that matters as much at the free safety position. And he's 6 foot tall, not that undersized. Can move around the field very well, play center field, catch up with the receivers. That's the type of guy the Patriots need, and the type of guy that they relied on very heavily during the dynasty years. So moving on to the next pick, the Patriots, again, they do not have the 106th overall pick, the early 4th rounder. So the next selection is taking place in the 5th round, 144th overall. The Patriots do have 2 5th-round picks at 141 and 171. So we're taking a leap here. A little later in the draft, at 144th overall, the New England Patriots will select Dillon Gabriel, quarterback, University of Oregon. Very early for a quarterback, right? 5th round, but they drafted Joe Milton in the 6th round last year, and I think they're looking for a long-term backup. Now, originally, looking at the PFF draft board, I was going to have the Patriots select Riley Leonard, the quarterback out of the University of Notre Dame. Riley Leonard, basically, in terms of traits and physical traits in particular, a carbon copy of Drake Maye. Same size and weight, a lot of the same skill set, a lot of the same raw traits, red flags and concerns with his footwork coming out of college. To an even greater extent, that's why he's going to be a 5th rounder and not necessarily a 1st or 2nd rounder. But if you're going to draft a guy like Riley Leonard with all those raw traits that, would have some continuity with Drake Maye with their similarities, you're drafting him because you project him long-term to be an NFL starter. And as we've seen from the Patriots this offseason and their willingness to trade Joe Milton away, they're trying to make life as comfortable for Drake Maye as possible. And that's part of the reason I had them selecting 2 offensive linemen with their first 2 picks in this draft. And that's part of the reason I do not have them selecting Riley Leonard, a guy who has Drake Maye raw traits and they could develop and flip again down the road. But I don't think the Patriots want to flip another quarterback. They want to get a long-term backup guy who's going to, challenge Drake Maye cerebrally, but athletically has some physical limitations. So you don't really project him as a long-term NFL starter. And that's why I have them selecting Dillon Gabriel out of the University of Oregon. Amazing quarterback, by the way. If he were bigger, he would be going in the top 3. But he's only 5'11", 200 pounds. But prolific passer, 15,000 plus yards throughout his career. He's jumped around. He's one of those 6-year COVID guys. Was at UCF for his first 3 years, spent 2 years at Oklahoma, and then was in Oregon as a graduate student. So he bounced around a lot, but racked up over 15,000 yards, had a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Dual threat, he's very strong at RPOs, can run the football a little bit. Even though he's not the fastest, he can bulldoze some players like a running back. Very quick release, much quicker than Drake Maye, to be honest. Good pocket presence, has a ton of experience, over 50 starts across different systems. Going to be able to adapt to whatever Josh McDaniels wants him to do. But as I said, the reason why he's not a first-round quarterback, why I have him going in the 5th round, is he's undersized, 5'11", 200 pounds, has very limited arm strength. He's also an older prospect, 6-year COVID guy, 25 years old, so there isn't a lot of developmental upside there. So that I see him as a long-term career backup, and I think that's how most NFL teams see him, whereas Riley Leonard maybe could develop into a long-term starter. So I think adding a guy like Dillon Gabriel takes the pressure off Drake Maye a little bit, but he's a smart, very good instinctive quarterback, just undersized, limited physical traits. That's the kind of dynamic you want in the quarterback room for years to come. You're basically getting a 5 to 10 year backup, in my opinion, who can be a good spot starter in case Drake Maye goes down. You're getting Case Keenum. This guy's Case Keenum, right? A pretty similar quarterback, and that's what you need, because Case Keenum, good enough to fill in for the Minnesota Vikings and send them on a long-term playoff run, or a deep playoff run, almost made the Super Bowl. I think Dillon Gabriel can be that guy. He can be kind of your fun, fan favorite, Doug Flutie type backup. There's always going to be Patriot fans, if he works out as a backup, that say Dillon Gabriel should be the starter, not Drake Maye. Kind of like we had with Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. That will happen with this selection, in my opinion. But I think this is a safe, long-term backup pick. And, he can come in there for 3 or 4 games, maybe win some football games. But after a few games of tape, teams would probably figure him out. Whereas Drake Maye has the athletic traits that he can transcend whatever adjustments other teams are making. So, Dillon Gabriel going to the Patriots early in the 5th round, getting their long-term backup quarterback. Not saying he'd be a backup in year 1, probably would be 3rd behind Josh Dobbs, emergency quarterback, but long-term, I think he would be an excellent fit in that quarterback room and wouldn't challenge Drake Maye for his job, but would challenge him mentally because he is a very smart quarterback. All right, now we move on to their last pick in the 5th round, 171st overall. The New England Patriots select Seth McLaughlin, center from The Ohio State University. McLaughlin, 6'4", 305 pounds, an elite run blocker, sets the tone for the ground game, a real leader, high IQ football player, had a lot of responsibility at Ohio State, making precise line calls. That would have been a responsibility had they kept Alex Van Pelt in New England, but Josh McDaniels is going to put a lot of that on Drake Maye instead with the type of offense that he runs, but you still want a smart center that knows how to do those things, and Seth McLaughlin is that guy. Strong hands and leverage and pass protection. Like I said, a real leader, super vocal on the field. You constantly hear him talking. Very good player and a guy who has the potential to be your long-term starting center for years to come. In fact, he is the best center in this NFL draft. So why is he going late in the 5th round? You're probably asking. Well, he had a torn Achilles in 2024, so that's not great. That definitely raises some durability concerns. A torn Achilles for a center with all the bending that they have to do and the adjustments that they have to make mid-play. Not great long-term, but if it works out, this guy is your long-term center. This guy is better than David Andrews long-term. This guy will win the job. Again, may not be ready to go week 1. He did win, I think it's called the, let me look this up real quick. I think he won the Remington Award in 2024 before he went down with an injury. So the Remington Award goes to the player considered to be the best center in college football. He went down toward the end of the season at Ohio State. They still won the national title. But his stats were good enough. 10 games, 600 snaps, 0 sacks, only 2 hurries allowed. That was good enough before he tore his Achilles to win the Remington Award, considered the best center in all of college football. And based on an interview with McLaughlin a couple of days ago, he is on track currently to be ready to go late July at the start of training camp. And if that's the case, I think he'll win the job. And you have 2 Ohio State players at left guard and center, and Will Campbell at left tackle, or you switch Campbell and Donovan Jackson, depending on how that plays out. 3 offensive linemen taken here in this draft. Seth McLaughlin, if he's ready to go late July, I think he'll win that job. Now, if he's not ready to go as a rookie, you're probably looking at a potential redshirt situation. Like, you probably don't want to put him in there week 6 after taking very few snaps with Drake Maye in training camp in the preseason. If any snaps, you might be looking at a redshirt situation and have Cole Strange and Garrett Bradbury compete for the center job. But as of right now, he looks like he's going to be on track. And if he's on track, if he's the same center that he was at Ohio State, Patriots are getting the best center in the draft, the best center in college football this past year, and you're adding arguably the best left tackle, arguably the best left guard, and the best center in this draft. Again, build a fortress for Drake Maye. Tired of hearing about the offensive line. Let's get it done this year. So now we move on to the 7th round. Patriots have 2 picks, 220 and 238. With the 220th overall pick, the Patriots will select Andres Borregales, place kicker out of the University of Miami. This guy's considered the best kicker in the draft. Don't love the idea, the Patriots taking a kicker, but it is a glaring hole. Right now they have John Parker Romo on the roster, who has a good foot, but very inconsistent with his accuracy. He is a borderline UFL, NFL guy, so you need a real kicker. And maybe Parker Romo can be that guy, but I'm just not sure, especially after seeing him in San Antonio, missing some clutch kicks that were very important and would have sent the San Antonio Brahmas to the playoffs. So I'm a fan of the Patriots using one of their draft picks on a kicker, probably not until the 7th round, which is what I have them doing here with Borregales. Hovers around 83, 84% in terms of field goals made. Was perfect on extra points throughout his career. Doesn't mean much because it's college. It's a short extra point anyway. But he is consistent from 50-plus yards, has a strong leg. Considered a clutch field goal kicker, at least according to Greg Bedard and the people that he's talked to, has made about 95% of what people consider clutch kicks. So he thrives in high-stakes games. I guess the weakness is he does have some occasional misses in mid-range, 40 to 49 yards. He's also not a great kickoff player. I don't know how much of a concern that is with the NFL's kickoff rules, but regardless, the Patriots have a punter who can do that, so I'm not too worried about that. He does have limited experience playing at the University of Miami in adverse weather, so that could be a concern. Also, he can't be a backup punter, too. So, yeah, that's not great, but either way, he's considered the best kicker in the draft. There are other kickers that might end up being taken probably in the 7th round, but take the best one available and let him compete with John Parker Romo and take the best kicker on the roster. So, Andres Borregales, kicker, University of Miami, going to New England at 220th overall. And then the Patriots' final draft selection, 238th overall, I had them selecting Donovan Edwards, halfback out of the University of Michigan. Frankly, was really surprised to see him there on the PFF board. He could be a 6th-rounder, but he could be a 7th-rounder, or he may slip to undrafted free agency. It's really hard to tell, but he was available in this scenario. Really good player, explosive 4.4 speed, capable of big plays, excellent pass catcher, runs very crisp routes. He would be behind Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, so I could see him in a 3rd down back role right away before moving into more of a workhorse type role later in his career. Decisive runner with cutback vision, clutch in big games at Ohio State, or against Ohio State with Michigan. Don't want to make that mistake. The reason why he's a 7th-rounder, he was often overshadowed by Blake Corum at the University of Michigan. He's 6 foot, 210 pounds, which is pretty big for a running back, but does lack the power at times to break tackles. Could do a little bit more in pass protection, which is a concern if you want him to be a 3rd down back. And he had a pretty heavy workload this past year at the University of Michigan, 150 carries, over 800 yards. So the shelf life on these running backs are very short these days. How durable is he going to be long-term? We'll see. But, if the Patriots aren't going to take Ashton Genty at 4th overall, I'm not sure they're going to prioritize running back early in the draft just because this is such a deep running back draft. In my last mock draft, I had them selecting Cam Skattebo out of Arizona State University. Really like that player, but you're probably going to have to spend a 3rd or 4th rounder on that guy. I think the Patriots are really going to just address the offensive line with all the assets that they have, and then fill out all the other positions of need where they can. So I prioritize free safety very early here. Obviously prioritize the kicker position, prioritize backup quarterback, and then eventually prioritize halfback because the Patriots still have Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, who may actually be the better running back there. But overall, let's go through it one more time. In the first round, Patriots will take Will Campbell, tackle LSU. In the second round, they will double dip on the offensive line and take Donovan Jackson, the hybrid tackle/guard from Ohio State, the Ohio State University. Then I have the Patriots packaging some of their picks, trading back into the late second round to take the large-bodied wide receiver Jack Besh out of TCU, the type of player that they really are missing in that receiving room. Then moving on to the mid-third round, the Patriots will select Andrew Makuba, free safety out of the University of Texas, to fill the Devin McCourty role that they're sorely missing. And then at 144th overall in the fifth round, they will select Dylan Gabriel, quarterback out of Oregon, a guy who has all the traits to be an elite NFL quarterback, but limited in terms of his athletic ability because he's only 5'11", 200 pounds. He doesn't have those traits to transcend his size like, say, Kyler Murray has. So he's probably going to be a career backup, which is exactly what you're looking for Drake Maye. Then also in the fifth round with their next selection, Seth McLaughlin, the injured center out of the Ohio State University. If he comes back and he's healthy, you have a long-term center for years to come. Won the Remington Award, best center in college football this past year, but he is recovering from a torn Achilles. That's why you're taking him in the fifth round. And Patriots don't have a sixth-round pick, so jumping to the seventh round, they take Andres Borregales, the best kicker available out of the University of Miami, and then they wrap up the draft selecting Donovan Edwards, a former national champion, halfback from the University of Michigan, to give them a third running back who can also play as a third down back, at least as a rookie, and can develop into a full-time power back later down the road. So that's my mock draft. This is the last one. No more. A lot could happen on draft day, particularly if there are trades happening in the top 10. If Shedeur Sanders goes in the top 3, if a team trades in to the top 3 to take a Shedeur Sanders, chances are this mock draft will not be what the Patriots do. But as of this moment in time, I see the Patriots really addressing the offensive line very heavily, addressing left tackle, left guard, and center, taking a quarterback, taking a kicker, taking a free safety, and then finishing with a halfback with their last pick. But let me know if you disagree with these picks or you have a better idea in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. And I'm not the only one doing these PFF mock drafts. If you have a better one, let me know and give me the full list in the comments. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Unless there's any breaking news between now and the draft, we will see you on Thursday after the Patriots make their first selection. See you then.